The second feeling is anger. The healthy response is protecting and creating clear boundaries. When it's conditioned and it's immature, and you have an immature reaction to an experience, then you react with rage. You react with annoyance, revenge. You punish people. It's in all three, but is particularly the aggressive bully that is there. I have a full list of all the where I found all the words that I think is where we justify our action, but it's actually anger that is underneath. But we're getting back to that in a second. And the ego reaction and the way that we avoid insight, it's by blaming. It's by pointing fingers. You are not like you should be. I am. You are not. You should be different. So the blaming is always about an underlying sensation of anger and an immature reaction to a sensation. And when you are the aggressive bully especially, you tend to be in that category where you bully people into submission to get your way. And you do that by blame. You point fingers. Healthy anger is an expression of boundaries and is a reference to you about where you are. However, anger does not influence your mood. If your mood is influenced by anger, you are identifying. You're no longer in healthy anger. You are identifying, and something else is going on, and that you need to look at. If it influences your mood, you need to look at the diversion. So in order to look into the diversion, then when you feel that anger and you feel how it's changing your mood, look into it. Just stay with it. Stay with the feeling that you're experiencing right now. So you know where you are, and you know why you think you need to put your foot down, or why you think you need to make your opinion clear to everyone else. In that lies the trauma. So be curious towards that. What is it right now that you feel that you need to be angry about? What opinion is lying underneath here? What is it that you think will happen if you don't put your foot down or react angrily? What do you think is there? And you might be in a position now where somebody's saying something to you. You have seen through self. Somebody's saying something to you and you react with anger and then it's gone. Then you might be tempted to say, well, it's not really there. It's just happening and then it's disappearing. Well, it's happening. It's happening. It just influenced your mood. Anger, healthy anger, does not influence your mood. So if it influenced your mood, even though just for a short period, there's something for you to look at. You need to look into why you think that reaction was needed. Why was that? What did this remind you of? In what part are you unsafe right now? Why do you need to put your foot down? Why do you need to be yelly and loud? Why is that? Look into that. So close your eyes, not now, but when it happens, close your eyes and breathe with it. See if you can go into the feeling of the anger and separate the feeling from the sensation. See if you can look into what is that. You might experience a very, very quick flash of a memory. And it might be, I'm just saying now, it might be like a memory of your dad. This is how my dad, he reacted. Oh my goodness, I have copy-pasted my dad. I'm not my dad and I'm doing just like he did. Okay. This is actually an opportunity for you to look at your dad with different eyes. Because you, right now, were your dad. And you might say, I'm not like my dad in any way. Well, congratulations, you are. You just were. Now you know exactly how he felt. You know exactly how he felt in him when anger just arose in him. He felt exactly like you just did. So look into that. Can you have compassion for your dad? Can you look at your dad in different ways? Can you look at the perpetrator in different ways? If you have copy-pasted a habit pattern and you are reacting in a certain way, then look into that. All your assumptions and all your judgments that you had against your dad or that person, look into that. You need to update all of them. because you just experienced how it is to be that person, because you just did exactly the same. Which means that just like you can justify your action in this moment, so could your dad. Except in that incident, it was you that was on the receiving end of it. Put yourself in the position. Breathe with it. Close your eyes and breathe with it. Can you see that you are your dad? That you are acting exactly like him? There's no difference at all. Can you see that the person you just yelled at is just like you? There's no difference at all. Do you see that? Just like you might now say, well, that person really provoked me. Well, what did your dad usually say about you? Did he usually tell you that you were provocative? Did he usually tell you to be quiet, to sit still? And when you didn't, if you laughed too loud or if you did something, then he was on your case? How is that not exactly the same? How is that not exactly the same? Breathe. Breathe. Whatever reaction you get with anger, it's an old habit that you have copy-pasted from another person. Feel compassionate towards that person. Feel compassionate towards you and just create space toward this. In the situation, then you go from having the feeling and the emotion of anger into the sensation of just being. How is it to be in your body right now? Can you stay in the gap? Can you go from the ego into the gap where you're just observing? You're observing your body, you're observing the situation, and you hold so much acceptance and compassion and love towards you, the situation, and the other person. Is that possible? Can you do that? Can you do that? So you might, when we talk about anger, you might have that feeling that, but hang on, does that mean that I'm just, people can just do with me whatever they want to do? Am I not ever supposed to say no? Am I not ever supposed to? Of course you are. Of course you are. I just told you that healthy anger is about boundaries. But you can say no. You can have that sense, that feeling of healthy anger arising. That can happen without you raising your voice, without you changing your mood. That can happen. This is about you saying no. Just like you can say yes, or you can say shoe, or you can say car, or you can say Saturday. It's just the same thing. It's just a word. You can say no without raising your voice. You can say no without intimidating or frightening or being, blowing yourself up. You can just say no. That's it. And then it's said. And that's it. There's nothing more to it. And when you're in the gap, when you're in the middle between the ego and the authentic, and you're in the middle, it doesn't really matter. You saying no is just you saying no. That's it. No, I don't want to do that. Done. There's nothing more to it. There's no opinion about it. There's no right or wrong about it. It's just a no. And that's it. So I've made you this list to look at. And you can just pick randomly from this list whatever feeling you feel, whatever emotion you have, whatever you call it. It's not relevant. It's nothing but an opinion. It's not true. It's not relevant. It's not important. And you don't have to express it. It's only there for you to look into. So whatever of these feelings that you have, whatever comes up, it's always a secondary emotion that has an underlying reason hidden away under it. And those everyday diversions that you have with any of those words, annoyance, irritation, any of those, it's just a diversion. It's just a diversion. There's something underneath, something boiling underneath that you're not looking at. And then you get that allowed feeling or allowed emotion that you are then diverting with so you don't get in contact with it. There's always something underneath. And very often underneath anger, there's sadness, a lot of sadness. You have tears in your ears. You don't really hear what it's saying. You're putting yourself in a position where you're not very old. You're not very old. And the sadness that you have is being repressed, and you're adding anger on top because it's more allowed to be angry and to fight. You might have grown up in a family where anger was more accepted than sadness and tears. If that is the case, I think you know what to do. So let's say now that from now on, you are skillful and wise in all your actions. in all your thoughts, in all your interactions with other people, how would things look? How would it look if you were skillful and wise in all your interactions? How would this be a thing? Or how would I respond? This what is just happening right now. If I was wise and skillful, how would I respond? How could my decision be different if I reflected on what was happening and I was skillful and wise in it? How would I change my decision? Or would it change if I was wise and skillful? How would all my childhood trauma be experienced completely different if I looked at my entire past wise and skillfully? What would change? How would it be different? If I no longer blamed, complained, shamed, and explained, and I didn't have any fear, anger, guilt, and shame, how would my entire past change? How could I look at that skillfully with lots of compassion and acceptance and love and understanding for everybody involved? How would that look differently? How would I manage this conflict I'm in right now if I was skillful and wise? Ask yourself that. Let's say I was skillful and wise. How would I manage this conflict right now? How much of the disappointment and the suffering I have in my life is self-created only because I refuse to be skillful and wise about it? So this anger burst explosion that I have right now, what would happen with that if I was skillful and wise? Would it still be here? What happens to a thought when I don't think it? What happens to a feeling of anger if I don't feel it? What happens to an emotion of anger if I don't attach any thought to it? And again, I'm not talking about you not sensing your boundaries. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that delusion that you are in, that you think that you need to react with anger in order to protect yourself. You don't. There are lots of people in the world that don't, which means you don't either. You've just been told that you did. And again, I would like for you to look at your childhood. If no one did anything wrong, if no one could have done anything better, if everything that was done to you was done exactly like it was supposed to, then having an opinion that they should have done differently is just an opinion. Do you see that? So look at that identification that is attached with that opinion. And look at your overall theme in your childhood. If it was about anger, how has that, with the ripple effect, affected your life today? How are you maintaining that anger in your life today? And what would happen if you were skillful about it? Where would it go? So I said it before, and I would like to repeat it. Whenever you have a feeling of fear, anger, guilt, and shame, you are diverting. This is only a distraction. Any feeling you get, it's just a distraction. Whenever you have a feeling that you need to put your foot down, that you need to mark your words, you need to show your boundaries, you need to say no, you need to, well, I'm gonna tell them. That is a diversion. It's a diversion. You're doing something to avoid something else. So instead of reacting, get into the feeling that you have of fear, anger, guilt, and shame, and just stay with that. You cannot have any reaction that is a good reaction. You can respond, which is a good response. So, for example, if you have healthy fear and you respond with, nope, not getting into that van, that is a response. If you have a reaction of anger going like, oh, I'm gonna rah, 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 that is a reaction. All reactions are diversions. You're diverting from something else. You're distracting from something else. So whenever you have the feeling that you need to, speak your piece, put your phone down, show them, just remember that that is identification and is only happening in you. Other people don't react like that. And if other people don't react like that, it's not truth. Now, if you then, socialize with people that all react like that, then you might be very, very tempted to believe that this is normal. It's not. It's identification. You don't need to. If other people can be in the same situation and not react like you do, then it is identification and you need to look at it. So whenever you have that feeling of, but I need to tell them, I need to say no, I ask yourself, are you sure? Are you sure you need to do that? Are you sure about that? There are other people in this world that don't react like that. Why do you have the need to do that? So I'm not, obviously, I hope you hear that. I'm not talking about you putting yourself in danger. I'm not talking about you jumping into a white unmarked van or letting, Uncle Peter babysit. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you being aware of when you are identifying with fear, anger, guilt, and shame, and what is underneath that identification. I'm not talking about you walking out in front of traffic. I'm not talking about that. I hope you hear that. So that was it. I hope you have gotten an insight into asking the question, who is telling you that you need to be different? Who are they talking to? Who is that who? And who are they talking to? And what message is given? Yeah. Thank you. I want to thank everyone that are showing your appreciation of the Awakening curriculum by buying me a cup of tea and becoming members of the YouTube channel. I truly appreciate that gesture. It means so much to me, and it also makes it possible to keep the channel and the homepage free from paid promotion and all that stuff. So thank you so much. And if you're new to the channel, then you find the full Awakening curriculum either on the YouTube channel or on my homepage, themore.uk. The Awakening curriculum is a free resource for you to use the FetterWork in resolving the effects of trauma and integrating insights of non-self and non-duality into your daily life and become awake.